before you become aware of it, your mind has already decided. Not through logic, not through habit, but because something deep within you has quietly recognized itself. This is the nature of the human psyche. Long before conscious thought intervenes, the unconscious makes its choice. Subtle, almost invisible decisions that appear simple on the surface, yet carry profound emotional significance. The cup that draws you in may seem like an ordinary object, but psychologically it is anything but ordinary. Coffee itself is a powerful symbol. Across cultures, it represents comfort, ritual, reflection, and emotional grounding. It accompanies moments of solitude and deep conversation, stress and calm alike. Over time, the psyche associates the act of drinking coffee with safety, control, warmth, and sometimes even escape. So when you choose a cup, you are not merely choosing a form or design. You are choosing the emotional experience you wish to enter. According to analytical psychology, particularly the ideas I have explored, we are constantly projecting parts of ourselves onto the outer world. Colors, textures, materials, and shapes become mirrors of the psyche. We are drawn not to what defines us forever, but to what resonates with our inner state in this very moment. That is why this test is both simple and revealing. Before you are 4 coffee cups, each carrying a distinct emotional tone, each holding a different psychological message. Your task is not to analyze. Do not judge what appears better, more expensive, or more practical. Instead, allow intuition to speak. Look at the cups calmly. Notice which one captures your attention first, which one feels familiar, which one feels safe or quietly intriguing. Choose instinctively. There is no right or wrong answer here. Each cup represents a different relationship with control, memory, strength, sensitivity, and inner balance. What matters is not the cup itself, but why it spoke to you without words. As you move through this test, you may begin to recognize aspects of yourself you have ignored, protected, or misunderstood. At times, such symbolic choices reveal emotional needs that have not yet reached conscious awareness. At other times, they simply confirm truths you already sense, but rarely allow yourself to articulate. And before we continue, pause for a moment. If this form of psychological exploration resonates with you, consider subscribing to and liking this video. It allows these introspective journeys to continue and invites more people to explore their inner world through simple yet meaningful symbols like this one. Now that your choice is made, we can begin to uncover what your cup reveals about you, starting with the first. If you chose the first cup, your psyche is drawn toward clarity, balance, and inner order. This choice often belongs to those who feel safest when life is intelligible, when emotions are organized, decisions are reasoned, and the world feels predictable enough to navigate. The clean lines, lighter tones, and minimalist form of this cup reflect a deep psychological need for calm and inner control, not control over others, but mastery of one's own inner landscape. You likely place great value on reason. When you encounter challenge, your instinct is to pause before reacting, to reflect before expressing. Emotion for you is something to be understood rather than immediately displayed. This grants you a strong sense of inner stability. Others often experience you as reliable, composed, and emotionally mature, even when turbulence exists beneath the surface. There is genuine strength in this orientation. You are capable of making clear decisions under pressure. You do not easily surrender to chaos, and wherever you move through work, routine, or relationship, you tend to create order rather than confusion. You may be the one others turn to when things begin to fall apart, precisely because you do not. Yet this cup also reveals a subtle inner tension. The same clarity that protects you can, at times, distance you from your deeper emotional needs. Feelings that seem inconvenient, overwhelming, or difficult to articulate may be quietly set aside. Vulnerability does not come naturally, not because you lack depth of feeling, but because you are reluctant to let emotion disturb your inner equilibrium. At times, this can manifest as emotional restraint. You may find it difficult to ask for help, believing you should manage on your own. Pain may be explained rather than fully felt. Over time, this can create a silent form of emotional fatigue, an unspoken pressure to remain composed at all times. Psychologically, this cup reflects a psyche oriented toward self-regulation. You are not emotionally cold, but emotionally selective. You choose carefully when and how to reveal what lies within. Such selectivity often arises from earlier experiences in which emotional control was necessary for safety or stability. In relationships, you tend to offer consistency rather than intensity. Care is shown more through action than through words. You may struggle with those who are emotionally unpredictable, yet quietly admire those who express freely what you so carefully contain. This cup does not point to imbalance, but to awareness in formation. Your psyche may be inviting you to discover what unfolds when clarity allows space for softness, when control coexists with emotional honesty. As we move forward, the focus shifts away from control and enters a deeper emotional terrain, where memory, feeling, and the past gently shape the present. If your attention was drawn to the second cup, your inner world is closely bound to memory, emotion, and lived experience. This choice often belongs to those who feel life intensely. The worn texture, warmer tones, and subtle imperfections of this cup symbolize a psyche that values meaning over perfection. You are not drawn to what is flawless, but to what feels real. Every mark carries a story, and stories matter deeply to you. Emotionally, you carry your past with you not as a burden, but as a quiet companion. Memory informs how you love, how you trust, and how you protect yourself. Moments that have touched you deeply are not easily forgotten, whether they brought joy or pain. For you, the past does not vanish. It becomes part of the emotional ground upon which you stand. This orientation grants you a rare strength, empathy. You perceive what others feel, often without the need for words. Subtle shifts in emotion, unspoken sadness, and changes in tone do not escape your awareness. People tend to feel understood in your presence, even when they cannot fully articulate what troubles them. Your emotional intelligence allows you to form connections that feel sincere, steady, and deeply human. Yet this cup also reveals a fragile inner tension. Because you honor emotion so profoundly, releasing it can be difficult. You may return to old conversations, replay moments within your mind, or remain attached to relationships beyond their natural life. At times, nostalgia becomes a refuge, a familiar emotional landscape that offers safety, even as it quietly restrains growth. Psychologically, this cup reflects a psyche that forms strong emotional bonds. You do not pass lightly through experience. You enter it fully. Love, loss, joy, and regret all leave their imprint. This depth is not a weakness, but a form of emotional courage that requires balance. You may feel divided between honoring what has been and embracing what is. One part of you understands that growth requires release, while another fears losing the emotional richness that defines you. This inner conflict can give rise to moments of longing, sadness, or emotional heaviness without an obvious cause. In relationships, you offer warmth, presence, and loyalty. You remember what others forget. You care in quiet, consistent ways. Yet you may struggle when others move on more easily, leaving you feeling unseen or emotionally behind. This cup suggests that your psyche seeks integration rather than abandonment of the past. Memory need not bind you, it can support you. As we continue, attention shifts away from memory and moves towards something more intense, the realm of strength, shadow, and inner fire. If you were drawn to the third cup, a powerful intensity resides within you, one that is often noticed, though not always understood. The darker tones, solid weight, and slightly irregular form of this cup reflect a psyche intimately acquainted with strength. You are not afraid of depth, difficulty, or complexity. Where others avoid emotional heaviness, you tend to face it directly, even if you must do so alone. This choice often belongs to those who have learned, consciously or unconsciously, to rely on themselves. In Jungian psychology, this cup resonates strongly with the shadow, those aspects of the self that are hidden, misunderstood, or pushed aside, yet hold immense energy and potential. You are likely aware of your darker emotions: anger, fear, sadness, frustration. Rather than denying them, you acknowledge their presence, even if you do not reveal them openly. This awareness gives you resilience. You endure where others falter. You remain standing in moments that test identity and character. You may have learned early that vulnerability carried risk, and strength became your emotional armor. As a result, independence feels natural. Relying on others may feel unnecessary, uncomfortable, or unsafe. There is undeniable power in this. You possess a remarkable capacity for self-control, determination, and authenticity. You do not wear masks that are not your own. When you commit, you do so entirely. When you withdraw, it is intentional. You value truth, even when it unsettles or disrupts comfort. Yet this cup also reveals an inner conflict. The very strength that protects you can, at times, become a barrier. Allowing others to witness your softer side may feel risky, as though it could expose old wounds or diminish your position. Emotional intimacy can feel less like shared ground and more like a surrender of control. There are moments when you feel misunderstood, not because others lack care, but because you do not permit them close enough to truly perceive you. Psychologically, this cup points to a tension between power and tenderness. You carry a strong inner fire, yet may not always know where to place it. When emotion is restrained too long, it can accumulate beneath the surface, emerging as restlessness, irritation, or emotional distance. The task is not to extinguish this fire, but to give it direction. In relationship, you value loyalty and depth over surface connection. You may find little patience for small talk, yet come alive in conversations of meaning. You respect emotional honesty and feel quietly resistant to what feels superficial. This cup does not indicate imbalance, but unrealized integration. Your psyche may be inviting you to soften without losing strength, to allow connection without surrendering independence. As we continue, the movement shifts once more, away from shadow and power, and toward intuition, sensitivity, and emotional openness. If you chose the fourth cup, your inner world is guided less by logic and more by feeling, intuition, and emotional perception. This cup, with its refined details, transparency, or quiet elegance, reflects a psyche naturally attuned to beauty and meaning. You are drawn to what feels emotionally alive. You do not merely observe the world, you sense it. Colors, moods, atmospheres, and unspoken emotions register deeply within you. Psychologically, this choice belongs to those who trust the inner voice, even when it cannot be explained by reason. You often feel before you understand. Decisions arise as impressions, sudden clarity, or quiet knowing rather than deliberate analysis. While others calculate, you intuit. This openness is one of your greatest strengths. You are capable of deep compassion and authentic connection. You feel at ease exploring emotional nuance, both within yourself and in others. Creativity, whether artistic, emotional, or relational, flows naturally from this sensitivity. You may find meaning in art, music, spirituality, or moments of quiet reflection. Yet this cup also reveals a vulnerability you may not always recognize. Because you are emotionally receptive, you absorb more than you intend. The moods, conflicts, and unspoken pain of others can linger within you long after an encounter ends. Emotional boundaries may soften, leaving you feeling overwhelmed or drained without a clear cause. At times, it can be difficult to distinguish what truly belongs to you from what belongs to another. Beneath this openness, there may also be a subtle fear, a fear of rejection or of remaining unseen. You may hesitate to fully voice your needs, concerned they might feel excessive, too intense, or misunderstood. As a result, you may withdraw inward during moments of emotional overload, appearing calm on the surface while processing deeply within. Psychologically, this cup reflects a heart-led way of being. You seek meaning rather than certainty. You value emotional truth over emotional comfort. While this enriches your inner life, it also calls for conscious grounding. Without it, sensitivity can quietly turn into emotional fatigue. In relationship, you offer presence, warmth, and understanding. You listen deeply, you feel deeply, you care deeply. Yet you may struggle with those who dismiss emotion or elevate logic at the expense of empathy. You require spaces, both within yourself and in the outer world, where sensitivity is respected rather than minimized. This cup does not indicate fragility. It indicates attunement. Your psyche may be inviting you to balance intuition with structure, emotion with protection, openness with self-respect. As we approach the final movement, all four cups begin to converge, revealing not separate personalities, but different inner states seeking integration and awareness. Whichever cup you chose, one essential truth must be understood. This choice does not define you permanently. It reflects where you are now. In analytical psychology, symbols function as mirrors of the present inner condition. The cup that drew you in is not a label. It is a message. It reveals which aspect of your psyche is most active, most protective, or most in need of attention at this stage of life. The first cup speaks of clarity and control, reminding us of the mind's need for structure and stability. The second carries memory and emotion, honoring the past and the emotional depth that shapes identity. The third embodies strength and shadow, reflecting resilience, self-reliance, and contained intensity. The fourth opens the realm of intuition and sensitivity, where meaning is felt rather than explained. Together, these cups form a psychological map. According to Jung, growth does not arise from choosing one path and rejecting the others. It emerges through integration, the capacity to recognize, accept, and balance these inner forces. Control without emotion hardens into rigidity. Emotion without release settles into stagnation. Strength without softness becomes isolation. Sensitivity without boundaries leads to exhaustion. Your choice suggests which energy currently dominates your inner world, but true balance develops when the others are allowed to exist alongside it. Take a moment to reflect. Why did this cup feel familiar? What emotional need does it represent? What part of you may be asking to be seen, softened, or strengthened often? Such tests reveal not what we prefer to believe about ourselves, but what the inner life is quietly requesting. Awareness is not judgment, it is listening. If your thoughts return to this choice, it is not coincidence. Symbols linger when they touch something meaningful. They invite reflection long after the image fades. As you move forward, remember that self-understanding is not a destination, but a process. The mind evolves, the heart shifts, and the psyche adapts. Today's choice may not be tomorrow's, and this is a sign of growth, not inconsistency. If this exploration resonated with you, take a moment to share your chosen cup in the comments. Reflection deepens when it is expressed. And if you wish to continue exploring the hidden language of symbols, psychology, and self-awareness, you are welcome to explore more tests on. Sometimes, all it takes is a simple choice to begin a deeper conversation with yourself.